Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk. Mike Bloomberg may ultimately end up facing criminal charges for his latest attempt to buy the 2020 election. I mean, the guy has been all over the place. But before we get into Mike Bloomberg specific, hold on. Why are we private? For some reason, my default settings for my live streams is private all of a sudden, and it shouldn't be because everyone is welcome. Come one, come all. We've fixed that. So, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, get on the notifications because I'm trying to drop as much content as possible. Things are heating up, just 41 days or so until the election. But that is not going to stop all of these millionaires from deciding to finally reach into their couch cushions and pull out loose change and hopefully buy this election. So before we get into Bloomberg, let's talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former governor of California, is now offering, or he's floating the idea at least, to pay to reopen polling centers that have been closed. He's looking to, he tweeted out Wednesday that he's been thinking a lot about this. He's talking specifically about this Reuters story regarding southern U.S. states. They've closed 1,200 polling places in recent years. He responded to that with, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm a fanatic about voting. Most people call closing polls voter suppression. Some say it's budgetary. What if I made it easy and solved the budgetary issue? How much would it cost to reopen polling places? Now, you know, before he became governor, he made quite a good coin in Hollywood, and apparently he's worth about an estimated $400 million. So who knows what it would cost to do something like this, but he did follow up. This is a serious question. He continued, is closing polling stations about making it harder for minorities to vote, or is it because of budgets? If you say it's because of your budget, let's talk. So he is definitely at least serious, it seems, about considering doing whatever it would take in order to get these polling places open. This was something that kind of rose to prominence, I guess, in 2013. There was a Supreme Court decision, Shelby County versus Holder. Partisan split. The court's conservative majority eliminated a crucial portion of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, requiring states to make with a history of voter suppression to prove that any changes to election laws weren't discriminatory. And I guess it's resulted in the closing of 1,200 or so polling places, which, yeah, that could definitely be voter suppression. But it's crazy. You've been thinking about it all this time, but where has the action been? Obviously, you know, you're in California, so you only have so much that you could do, especially, you know, when you had political power in California. But it's weird. So many had nothing to say about all of these people who had been disenfranchised and voter suppression and all of that until it seemed to benefit them, or at least it looks to kind of harm them right now as they're looking to be more involved. So Mike Bloomberg, like I said, he's the man of the hour. We know that he's already pledged well, let's start, okay? Mike Bloomberg launched his campaign about a year ago, probably today. He didn't last, 6 months or so? But in that short time, he managed to spend about $1 billion. Managed to spend about $1 billion on his campaign, which, of course, failed miserably. But he learned something. Okay, well, that's not going to work. So maybe I'll just take this money and I'll invest it into Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, which he did. He recently this month pledged $100 million for Florida alone, specifically, just because Florida is such a pivotal state in this particular election. We know that Donald Trump has ramped up his efforts to get support there. He thinks he has a good shot with a lot of conservative Latinos, and that's what he's pushing for. Joe Biden, you know, headed out to Florida last week, made an embarrassed himself massively with his Despacito, but apparently we're just going to disregard that. And, you know, it seemed to not be a big deal as far as the media is concerned, but we'll see how voters actually feel. But because this was such a pivotal state, because it was decided by, I think they said 537 votes in 2016, this is a big deal. So after $100 million investing from Bloomberg, you know, his primary plan is outreach. He's getting into the streets. He's talking to people. He's making a bunch of Spanish ads specifically targeting the Latino community. But now he just said, you know what? This is a way, but surely there's something better. And I think he found it. I think he found the best way possible. So Mike Bloomberg, he's decided to pay off the debt for 31,000 felons so that they can be able to have their voting rights restored. Now, again, on a normal election, on a normal Tuesday, this would be altruistic. This is great. This is, somebody, looking out for the little guy. But that's not what's happening. He's trying to buy votes, right? And we've been talking about this. Andrew Yang came out. He said, I'm going to give everybody $1,000 a month. They said that was buying votes, and he was giving it to everybody. This guy is literally paying off restitution for people so that they can have the right to vote in this specific election. And again, Bloomberg's a business guy, right? So I'm sure there are metrics behind his decision. And we got quotes, too. And this is not going to be good because, like I said, he may be facing criminal charges after this one because I think he got a little bit too specific with what his intentions were. So he paid off $20 million in debt for more. Well, and let me be clear here. He teamed up with an organization that had already raised, I think, $5 million, and then he helped them to raise an additional $17 million, helped them to raise. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he cuts the check directly or whatever. But this is how our democracy works, right? And I know some people they don't like my opinions because I try to work with within the confines of the system. This is capitalism, right? Money talks. So you can't buy the election. You can't just hand it to these people, but you can donate it to an organization that's then going to take that money and use it to help people get out of jail or pay off their restitution, pay off their fines, these kinds of things. So that's what Bloomberg is doing here. So we have a quote. It says, "We know to win Florida, we will need to persuade, motivate, and add new votes to the Biden column. This means we need to explore all avenues for finding the needed votes when so many voters are already determined," Bloomberg said in a written statement. This is the funniest thing is that as you have all these business people get involved in politics, because we tried that with Trump, we brought a business guy in, we realized that humanity is like a little bit more important. And if you look at politics and you let politics be run by business, you're going to look only there he is. We're going to look only at metrics, right? And the metrics are going to say, what's the most efficient way? What's the quickest way? I don't want to deal with people. People have, individual stories and individual issues that are concerning to them. So how can we just mitigate as much of that as possible and get the most bang for our buck? Oh, that's right. We can get a bunch of people who were previously disenfranchised. We'll let you know that this organization and Mike Bloomberg and the Democrats helped you to get out of jail and pay off these fines and restore your voting rights. And we're not going to tell you who to vote for, but it's not quid pro quo, but a Bloomberg advisor told the Washington Post Mike wanted to get this done for two reasons. One, because it's the right thing to do for the democracy. Altruistic. Who thought that Mike Bloomberg was such a great guy before 2019? I mean, seriously. One, because it's the right thing to do for democracy, and two, because it immediately activates tens of thousands of voters who are predisposed to voting for Joe Biden. I think that's where he got in some big trouble because he probably shouldn't have had that statement put out. A federal appellate court ruled judge on September 11th that in addition to serving sentences in Florida, felons must pay all fines, restitution, and legal fees before they can regain their right to vote. Now, again, I'm here in Oklahoma. I was wearing a shirt the other day that said "Vote Yes" on 805. Someone was asking about that shirt. I try personally here in the community to try to involve myself with issues regarding criminal justice reform, primarily because one of the issues that we have, and it was just heartbreaking, was at an event a couple of months back, where people don't know when they have their right to vote restored. And in Oklahoma, and I think it's 18 other states or so, you don't get your right to vote based on when you get released from jail. It's based on your sentence. So if you're sentenced to 20 years and then you get 10 years probation, you don't get your right to vote back until after the probation is over. And here what's happening in Florida is you have to have your fines and fees and restitution covered. Now, I understand the need for that, but it's blatant that when these things disproportionately affect people from a certain socioeconomic status or a certain community, these can be issues. And I think voting is just voting. Voting really shouldn't have much to do with whether or not, if you've paid your debt to society, I guess you literally haven't, right? I guess maybe you haven't paid your debt to society. But if you're released from prison, you're out and you're being a productive citizen, you're paying tax and things like that. I think at some point over the last 20 years or so, we could have decided that perhaps maybe we should let you have your right to vote and have your voice heard, because these laws, these issues that are being voted still are affecting you. Now that you're back out in the community, these things are affecting you. So you should have some say so. But under Amendment 4, which Florida voters passed overwhelmingly in 2018, felons who have completed their sentences would have voting rights restored. Republican lawmakers then moved to define what it means to a completion of sentence. So that's what we're seeing here. So the Florida Rights Restitution Coalition, that's the organization that Bloomberg teamed up with. They raised $5 million before Bloomberg made calls to raise almost $17 million more, according to Bloomberg staffers. Now, this is not just Mike Bloomberg specifically. It's him. He obviously made the call. He's got the juice. But then he called in celebrities and other people who've got millions. Probably Arnold gets involved. He'll pay for a couple polling places. He'll throw a couple bucks out into something like this. The money is targeted for felons who are registered to vote while the law was in question and who owe $1,500 or less. You got to have a cap, right? We can't just be letting everybody off willy-nilly. Only the people that we can afford to get the most bang for our buck. Again, those analytics, incredibly crucial in things like this. That accounts for 31,100 people. Organizers of the group said they aren't targeting people registered with a particular political party, but of course, this is business, right? They ran the numbers. They know that of these people, this percentage of people may or may not be affiliated with the Democratic Party, or they fit a specific demographic, or they come from a certain socioeconomic background, which make them more predisposed to want to vote for a Joe Biden. So they might not say specifically that these people are definitely Joe Biden voters, but you know that there was a calculation made, because at the end of the day, putting $100 million into Florida and just going and running a bunch of ads, there's a limited return on that. But these people probably are going to feel a stronger connection to the people who paid these fines, who they know paid these fines for them specifically. This is from the organization as well. To hell with politics, to hell with any other implication or innuations. Innuations, is that a word? At the end of the day, it's about real people, real lives, American citizens who want to be part of this, said Desmond Meade, the group's executive director. Now, again, he probably genuinely feels that way, but with that nice infusion of cash from Bloomberg and friends, a lot easier to say statements like this and defend those people who team up with you. I mean, gee, I'm really in the wrong line of business. I've clearly messed up. It's not too late, though. This whole story angers me because as a person who tries to think about the humanity of things, this is not about humanity at all. This is about money, votes, and power. And people they'll play dumb when you talk about disenfranchisement. You play dumb when you talk about certain things affecting this community more than another, or voter suppression or disenfranchisement. You have no idea what I'm talking about. You're not interested in that. And these people just need to pay their fines, and it's not a big deal until you need those people. And I was going to make this video about the Democrats, but it's both sides. It's both sides. Why did the Democrats move to make sure that you have to pay restitution before your sentence is completed? Was it for what? I mean, what is the actual reason? Because I'm sure they'll give you some reason based on virtue or conviction or something like that. But it's BS. It's not that at all. It's just because they want to keep a certain specific group from voting. And now this group wants to use that group. So they're like, okay, well, we'll help them so we can use them. You are all pawns. I don't pick sides on this stuff. I say the good and the bad on each side because each side has good and bad. But ultimately, money is all that matters. They don't care about you, and they're only going to use you for what they can get from you. And when they're done, they don't know you. So don't be confused into thinking that Mike Bloomberg or Arnold Schwarzenegger or any of these people are doing this thing because it's the right thing to do, because they could have done it a long time ago. The crazy thing about all of this is that these people have lunch together. They know it. They've been known each other. All right. These guys been known each other. So surely if you got a meeting with the governor of Seattle, you could, hey, we should do something about this. You have the juice. You don't use it until you stand to gain something. And I know that they think that this is going to help them, but these are the types of things that make Trump voters dig in their heels, because they know how hard you're fighting against Donald Trump. And it makes them think, why? Why are you trying so hard? Is he making life that difficult for you? Or is it because it's the right thing to do? And historically, it's always been based on what's the right thing for you, not the right thing for people. That's the problem we have right now. So, again, cash rules everything around me. Speaking to, actually, I'm going to play a clip for you. This is a clip from Matt Gaetz, who is he a senator? Don't make me misquote his title, but he was on Hannity, and they spoke about the criminal investigation that looks to be underway following this statement, these series of statements from the Bloomberg camp, and this massive donation to help get these people out of jail.
Restoration Coalition, they've already paid off the fines of 32,000 Florida felons. You see, since 2018, felons from Florida who have served their time can vote so long as they have paid off any outstanding fines, fees, or restitution. So Bloomberg is trying to game the system here. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz announced on Twitter that he is calling on the state's AG to launch an investigation into Bloomberg for, quote, potentially engaging in bribery and vote buying. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, election officials are giving residents up to 9 days after Election Day to count their absentee ballots, so long as they are postmarked on Election Day, November the 3rd. Here with reaction, he also has a brand new book out. It's called Firebrand: Dispatches from the Front Lines of the MAGA Revolution. Congressman Matt Gaetz, and member of Trump's legal team, and also executive director along with his dad at the ACLJ, Jordan Sekulow. Matt, we'll start with you. I read your tweet. Okay, you want the investigation. I would agree with you.
In the moments before the show, Sean, I spoke to Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody. She says she is all over this. In fact, I believe there may be a criminal investigation already underway of the Bloomberg-connected activities in Florida. Chapter 104.061 Florida statute says that it is a third-degree felony for someone to either directly or indirectly provide something of value to impact whether or not someone votes. So the question is whether or not paying off someone's fines and legal obligations counts as something of value, and it clearly does. If Michael Bloomberg was offering to pay off people's credit card debts, we would obviously see the value in that. And so when you improve someone's net worth by eliminating their financial liabilities, that is something of value. And then normally it would be very difficult to prove that that was directly linked to impacting whether or not someone was going to vote. But they literally wrote their own admission, Sean, in this document that they used to go fundraise from other people. They said the precise purpose of this fund was to unlock a portion of the black vote in Florida that they believed would go 90 to 95% for Joe Biden. So in this case, I think they've written their own admission. The law is clear. This is something of value. And I am encouraged after my conversation with the Attorney General. I hope we have good law enforcement all over the country looking for the cheating and the tricks that these Democrats are going to try in this election, because I'm starting to get the sense they know Donald Trump's going to win it on Election Day.
So, have I watched Tucker at all recently? I haven't watched Tucker recently. I will. I love Tucker. I just haven't watched him recently. But yeah, so that's a great summation. There's an article, but he just gave everything we needed to know. Yeah, that's Matt Gaetz, congressman. He's looking into this, and he's pushing the AG to investigate Mike Bloomberg's involvement in this. And this is definitely, let's be real here, right? Mike Bloomberg's not going to jail, okay? He's probably not facing any real criminal charges. It's more clickbait than anything. But it really does make you wonder. We couldn't find a dime for so many things, for so many programs, for so many people, for first responders, or not first responders, for the emergency workers and the people who are essential personnel. And we can never find money. You know what I mean? We can never find money. And giving certain people money, you shouldn't give people money. You shouldn't give them handouts, because that's welfare, and that's not what America stands for. And you got to work hard and this and that. unless we want something from you. And then all of a sudden we got pandemic relief and we got stimulus and we got tax incentives and we're going to go ahead and pay for your restitution and pay any court fees you got. You know what? I'll pay for that polling place to be roped. They find money like crazy, but only when it benefits them. So 2020 at this point doesn't surprise me at all. All 2020 does is reminds me of what America is. And when I remembered what America was in 2016, I knew months before the election that Donald Trump was going to win. And this one's just a little bit different. This one's just a little bit different because money is being thrown in every direction. I don't know who's going to win this election, but one thing is for sure. Money is 100% in control, whether it's buying votes, whether it's and also, let's be clear. You think Mike Bloomberg is losing all this money? You think he put $1 billion into his campaign in 6 months and $100 million to Joe Biden in Florida and 20 million or so in this and however many other millions he's donated to Democratic Party. You think he's lost that money? You think he's first is a tax write-off, one, but two, he's just paying for favors. Like, he'll get it back. They always get it back. And honestly, for me, this is why Donald Trump feels so different. I have never in my life felt like the rich weren't going to get richer or the people who are in control of everything weren't always just going to get their money back. But with Donald Trump, the fear that comes from these people, it almost makes me wonder that perhaps maybe he's disrupting something greater than what's ever been disrupted before. And yeah, for the rhetoric and the things that he says and the divisiveness, these things I don't like, but I feel like he might actually be making some major progress on changing the fundamental flaws that do actually make our system run the way it does. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. You let me know what you guys think. I have got a stack of content to go over with you guys today. So stay tuned. I got some work to do. I'll be back here in a couple hours. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a like. Make sure you let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will see you guys soon. If I can hit the end stream button.